The storm of February 28th and March 1st brings 5 to 8 inches of rainfall to the burned watersheds. Intensities do not exceed a ½ inch per hour. As predicted, the intensities are not sufficient to cause the massive debris flows which could have filled the debris basins instantly. As the skies clear, the amount of sediment in the basins constitutes 5 to 10% of their capacity, or about 10,000 tons. Not all of the debris from the burned watershed is trapped in the basins. Floating debris and fine material in suspension is carried through the basins. This material, along with material from smaller watersheds not provided with debris basins, is carried downstream with the flow until it reaches Atascadero Creek. Atascadero Creek is choked bank to bank with vegetation. Despite several years of studies and negotiations, the Flood Control District had not been able to obtain all permits to clear vegetation out of the creek. Now, the flow of water in the creek is slowed due to the obstructive vegetation. Floating debris from the burned watershed is trapped, and suspended settlement settles out between the vegetation. As a result, Atascadero Creek comes to within 1 foot of overtopping its banks, endangering over 100 adjacent residential properties. After the storm, the Flood Control District notifies the Corps of Engineers and urges a reconsideration of the emergency status of Atascadero Creek. With a major storm forecast for March 17th and 18th and considerable deposits of sediment and debris in the creek from the last storm, the danger of water going over the banks and into the residential area is very high. The Flood Control District immediately starts construction of a sandbag wall to protect the residences close to the creek. On March 14th, 5 Corps officials come to Santa Barbara on a fact-finding mission. As a result, an emergency permit is issued on March 15th. The permit, however, is insufficient in that it only allows clearing of a small portion of the overgrown section of the creek 1 mile below the area where the flood threat is the highest. A last-ditch effort by County Supervisor Tom Rogers, U.S. Senator John Seymour, and Congressman Bob Lagomasino makes it possible to get the Corps and the Department of Fish and Game to issue emergency permits on March 17th that allow the flood control crews to clear Atascadero Creek. With rain imminent and the permits signed, flood control crews go to work. Within 5 hours of permit signing, the rain starts, daylight fades, the water in the creek rises several feet, making working conditions dangerous and equipment operation nearly impossible. However, in those 5 hours, the Flood Control District cleared 3,500 feet of obstructed vegetation, floating debris, and accumulated sediment. The storm of March 17th and 18th brings between 7 and 10 inches of rain to the burned watersheds. Atascadero Creek carries water bank to bank and overtops its banks in the area where creek clearing was stopped. Fortunately, the overtopping is confined within an open space, causing no damage. The burned watershed is so saturated from the previous storm that changes in rainfall intensity have a sudden and sometimes dramatic impact on creek water levels downstream. The storm leaves the debris basins filled to about 20 to 30% capacity, or double the amount from the previous storm. The smaller of the debris basins has water going over its spillway for the first time. A quick-moving storm passes through Santa Barbara County on March 20th, dropping 1.5 inches of rain on the burned watersheds. Although the volume of rain is small, nearly 1 inch of rain falls within 1 hour, causing the district concern, as 1 inch per hour is the intensity threshold beyond which there is a possibility for debris flows. A small debris flow may actually have occurred since a large amount of debris is collected. Although most of the debris collected is sediment, for the first time, trees and rocks up to 2 feet in diameter are transported to the smaller basin. After the rain of March 20th, the basins are filled 30 to 35% of capacity. The last storm of March occurs on the 24th, 25th, and 26th with 2 to 4 inches of rain over the burned watersheds, with the emergency clearing of Atascadero Creek nearly complete and no rainfall intensities coming that would be too high, in fact quite low. No problems are encountered. The debris basins are left about 1/3 full of sediment, rocks, and burned vegetation. March, which came in like a lion, goes out like a lamb. Looking back, the Flood Control District finds that without the debris basins and creek clearing, over 40,000 tons of sediment and debris would have been deposited in the creeks and would, most likely, have caused local flooding. 40,000 tons, or 8,000 truckloads, could fill a football field to a depth of nearly 20 feet. Had Atascadero Creek not been cleared, several houses would have been flooded on March 17th and 18th. Burned watersheds, thanks to the rains of March, are on the way to recovery. Full recovery, however, will take several years.
The Painted Cave fire and the floods of March 1991 demonstrate the need for a preventive flood protection program. The Santa Barbara County Flood Control District shares the environmental values of our community and as such has integrated environmental protection within our preventive program. Unfortunately, programs like ours are jeopardized by a very time-consuming, very costly environmental permit process. As director for Santa Barbara County Flood Control District, I hope that the experiences since the Painted Cave fire will bring about some changes with the regulatory agency procedures so that lives, properties, and the environment can be protected from devastating floods.